Recording.
Hey.
Hello.
Hello, everybody. I'm Sam.
And I'm Mason.
And you know it's good when you hear Right Company. And we're back in the land of no right companies because we're doing a Filipino boys love. This is the first Filipino boys love we've reviewed in our series of reviews. And just to be transparent with everybody, we actually did record this review yesterday, which was the 20th September. Happy birthday, Light Baby!
Happy birthday! Thank you for watching.
But what happened was the show decided to release a special episode 13.5, and it adds a lot to the conversation. And so it made more sense just to go ahead and re-record because it aired while we were recording the first review. So we are back to talk about Gameboys.
Yes.
Yeah. So a little bit of light on the subject before we do the synopsis. Gameboys, because I didn't mention it when we did our initial review run through, has been #1 in trending in the Philippines since episode 4. Every single week, every episode that comes out is usually #1 trending the day it comes out. So this Boys Love is a really big deal because it was one of the first Boys Loves that was announced in the Philippines initially, and they're currently going through a wave of Boys Loves. Like, they've got, I would say, a smooth 20 Boys Loves going on as we speak, probably. So it is a big deal because the success of this show is what's driving the market there. So it is important for people kind of to check it out and see what the main influence is for the rest of the folks that are coming out with Boys Love shows.
Right.
So, synopsis. Do you want to give us a synopsis or shall I?
I can do it.
Okay.
So Gameboys is about a boy named Kai, full name Cairo, and he is stuck inside of quarantine lockdown because, you know, the virus of which we will not speak. And he is like a streamer, like he plays a game and like streams on like Twitch or whatever. And this guy comes in and beats him at the game. And he's annoyed because he's like, I never lose. How fucking dare you? He's just pissed. And the guy turns out to be a hot guy named Gav, full name Gabriel. And Gav starts to try and court him. And it's done completely through, almost completely through like screen recordings, like a Zoom meeting or like a Facebook chat. Like it's almost completely recorded through there and like Instagram videos. It's about how they basically start an online relationship and kind of goes into, is an online relationship something that is stable, something that can really be love? And Gameboys is about that. Yeah.
So this is a show that is very polarizing.
No, it's like, here's the thing. Gameboys is like, everyone loves it. And I'm like, it's okay, I guess. And then it's like, but you don't love it? And it's like, no.
You know, I'm not one to shit on people's different opinions as long as their different opinions are, like, fair, you know? And I think that Mason has a lot of very fair points that he'll bring up in the course of this discussion. So I'm not mad at it. I think what bothers me is the extremes with no reason. For instance, the people who love Engineer of Love but cannot give you a reason why they love it other than cute boys being cute. Or the people who hate a show like Tharn Type, but they won't say, oh, I hate it because of the negative tropes, or I hate it because of the problematic relationships. They're just like, I think Mew is ugly. So, I mean, if we can, so like, I never mind if somebody has a divergent opinion, but like, have like a legit opinion instead of just being snarky and nasty and mean, which that's not you, Mason. I'm just talking about like in general, I notice that when people say that they hate shows, at least on Twitter, it's always about something that like misses the point. And it's never about the actual thing in question.
Yeah. Yeah. That was a really big thing in art school that you learn about is it's like, because a lot of art schools have like class critique. So you put up your work and everyone in class would critique it. But not every student knows how to critique. So sometimes you hear someone be like, well, I just don't like it. And it's like, okay, why? It'd be like, I don't know, I don't like the color pink. And you're like, well, okay, that's not good criticism. You're like, and what? Like, I get you.
Yeah, so I mean, everything that Mason has to say about the show is absolutely fair, and that's the reason why you guys watch this, hopefully, is because you have two people that are giving a good, authentic rundown of the show and are really trying to present their opinions or differences of opinions in a very fair way. So yeah, let's just get right into it. Let's start with character rundowns, because I find that with our reviews, we do the best when we get to go character by character. So I think that's a great place to start. I'd like to start with Kai, because honestly, in this story, it feels like Kai is the main character of the show.
Yeah.
Most everything seems to revolve around him. So give me your impressions of how Kai was written, acted, how you feel about Kai's storyline.
I think Kai is a pretty decent protagonist. I do think there are some areas for improvement, but overall, he was a solid character. I do think, I'm not sure how I feel about his acting, if I'm being honest. I know some people are really into it. I think he falls back on a few default expressions, and it kind of makes sense for his character, but I also find it kind of annoying because he kind of defaults to this like open mouth stare. He does it a lot, and I feel like it's a crutch in some ways. And I feel like his acting reminds me a lot of both. I would say the acting in this as a whole reminds me a lot of Tharn type, where overall it's good, but the two main characters really fall back on some very specific movements or expressions that I don't know if are character choices or just that's how they act. If that makes sense. Like, Mew talks out of a smirk for like the entirety of Tharn type. You know, it's just like, it's a thing that he does whether it needs to be or not. And I feel like Kai kind of does the same thing, but with his like open mouth, agape thing. I do think he is relatable, but I wish that they played up his relationship with his dad a bit more. Yeah. How about you?
I think that Kai is a decent protagonist, like you said. I would have liked to have seen a little bit more interaction between him and his dad, or they did have a montage of clips of him and his dad together, but I think more than that even, I think I would have appreciated like one scene where he tells a story about his dad to Gav, or, you know, a scene, this is so dumb. Nowadays, a lot of people are having virtual funerals. The reason I know about that is because recently my ex-husband's brother died and they had an online funeral. So I think it would have been cool to have like a quick snippet of like the Zoom call / online funeral where people can give anecdotes about the father and give a little bit more insight of the role that the father played in the family, the close ties with the father, something like that. So I agree. I would like to see more of the father. One of the things I really disliked about Kai as a character, and it is so petty, but it matters to me. I feel like because Kai's never been in a relationship before, that he doesn't understand kind of the push and pull. And it took far too long in the storyline for him to give to Gav. Like, by the time we got to, I would say, episode 8, it was finally like, okay, I'm reciprocating these things, and I'm being very vocal about reciprocating these things. But for the longest time, Gav is over here with his nose wide open, like, I love you, I love you, I love you. And Kai's like, I don't really like you. And I don't know, maybe it's just because I suffer from low self-esteem. I could only take so much rejection before I would have been out. Yeah. So I think it would have been nice if they had written a few more moments in Kai's character where he kind of shows his hand, or he gives hints to Gav that like, I am into you too. Right. And that was a part that I found frustrating, because ultimately I think that that's what led us into the final set of conflicts in the last couple of episodes of the show. It was, I just always assume that you're so into me and I don't have to put in a lot of effort. And I think I would have enjoyed kind of seeing a little bit more give and take earlier on instead of waiting until the very last episode to do the real give and take.
Right. I agree. I think that, like, they kind of give it to the audience that he's interested early on. Like, their scenes were like, oh, Gab is somehow shirtless when he's calling. And Cairo's like, I like what I see. You know? But Gab doesn't pick up on that. And that's the important part. That's the part that is missing. Is like, we need Gab to understand that this is something that could work, and it's not just Gab just spewing "I love you" to a rando online.
Yeah, it's like, why do you love him?
I guess transition to Gab. Gab is a fuckboy if I've ever seen one, and wow, if I had someone like the second time I talked to them tell me that they love me, I don't know, y'all. I think I'd be like, thanks. And
oh man. And it's funny that you use that phrase because actually me and Mason's first introduction to the actor that plays Gab was on Pornhub. So
don't bring up our shame, Sam.
Okay, just to be completely candid here. I don't always go to Pornhub for extracurricular activities. Sometimes I do go there for research purposes or to see content that you can't put on YouTube. And it just so happened to be that Gabrielle, played by Kikoy De Santos, was in a movie called Fuck Boys. And that movie in total is on the Pornhub. And so when I heard that this movie was coming out, I was like, that actor looks really familiar. Where have I seen his face before? Then I realized I've seen his face right after I saw his ass on Fuck Boys. And so it is highly ironic that he plays a sensitive fuckboy on this show when our first introduction to him was being a major fuckboy in a movie called Fuck Boys.
Great.
There's one particular picture I keep in my DMs of him handling some equipment in that movie. Yeah. Anyway.
That's a character.
Gab's character, the problem I have with Gab's character is that he is too selfless. I get that we want to write a character who is a dream fulfillment. I mean, we picked a guy who looks like a TikToker. You know, like he definitely looks like the kind of guy that is really popular on YouTube, really popular on TikTok, is an influencer of sorts. But they make it seem like that's just a shell, and really inside I'm the sweetest guy on earth. And I'm not saying that two things can't be true at the same time, but we don't get any of Gab's negative traits until the very last 3 episodes. And even his negative traits, when I was watching, I'm like, this is reasonable behavior to me. Mm-hmm. Like, you should have been more upfront about your jealousies and everything else, but like, thinking that your friend is hitting on you when your friend takes their shirt off in the middle of a Zoom meeting, that's a reasonable reaction to be like, I think this guy's trying to fuck. Mm-hmm. So I think that they wrote him too much of a perfect guy. And I would have liked to have seen something a little bit dirtier. Like, honestly, based on episode 13.5, I would have really liked the narrative to have been that Gab cheated on Terrence rather than Terrence cheating on Gab. That way it would have been like, you know, I did my last relationship dirty, but I'm ready to change.
Yeah, that'd be an interesting character thing, because I feel like Gab is he's pretty bland. Like, I don't really know what he's into. We don't even know what game they're playing, by the way. That was one of my main complaints, is it's called Gameboys, and they don't really play that many games. I feel like I would have liked it if their relationship started as fun rivals that are really into this one game. And as they're playing, they end up getting together. Instead of it being right out the gate, Gab was like, fuck me.
Yeah.
I think that would have been nice because it does read kind of like a teen movie. Like Kai is like no one likes me because I'm different and I'm weird. And then Gab's just like that boring hot guy with no personality that's like, come on, baby, I'll listen to you. I think you're real hot. Come on, baby.
Yeah, this is very much kind of like Twilight Syndrome, where you have like your character who's like your every girl character, and then like the hot guy is like, I see something special in you. Even though, I mean, Elijah, who plays Kai, is no slouch. He's a good-looking kid. But yeah, it was a little bit too like, it was too intense too early on.
Yeah, I think it was that was very off-putting to me, was saying baby constantly.
Yes.
I would be really annoyed with Gav, and it's like hard to connect. It's hard to like really get into a show when one of the main characters is just annoying to you. I don't think Gav is terrible, but him saying baby all the time really got to me. And there was one scene in particular that really ruffled my feathers. There's a scene where Kai and him are talking, and Kai like gets like some Cheeto dust on his face, and he goes, I'll be right back, I'm gonna go wash my face real quick. And then Kai is just sitting there like, baby, are you almost done? Baby, come back, I miss you, baby, come back. It's like, shut the fuck up, he'll be back in a moment. I want to wash his face. Come on.
But one thing I did like about Kai and Gav together is I liked their interactions when the drama really ramped up. So there were times where like the drama was kind of mellow, or it was just like a little fun time. But like the scene where, spoiler alerts, the scene where Kai finds out that his father has died, while I think that Kai did an amazing job acting out the grief and sorrow and the shock of losing your dad, I was really watching Gav's face and the look on his face of like, I don't even know what to say or what to do because I'm witnessing something horrific for you. And I want to be there for you, but I can't be there for you. And I want to say something, but I don't know what to say. And this isn't my dad, but I'm still crying because I can feel how bad this situation is for you and your family. And that was one of the things I really liked, is like how their emotions played off of each other. Another scene that I really loved that was an interaction between them was the argument in episode 12, at the very end of episode 12, where they're just both going at it back and forth, and then Gav hangs up the phone. Because, I mean, it's hard to film an argument scene when you have two people in person. I can't even imagine how difficult it is to do an argument scene over Zoom, because over Zoom with me and Mason, sometimes if I'm talking and Mason talks, I can't hear him because it mutes out the sound. So I really think it was really cool how they pulled that off. I think they pulled that off in a really great way. Yeah. And then once they finally got in front of each other for an extended period of time, they did have a get together in episode 10, which was supposed to be the original finale of the series, but they extended it. Their get together in episode 10 is super cute and lovely, and oh, y'all are so great. When they are in Gav's house eating pizza in episode 13, I love their physicality. Like the way he's touching his arm and like, baby, when are you gonna cook for me? I was like, oh gosh, I see it all. And then when they were in the bed and Kai was running his fingers through Gav's curls, I'm like, yes, me too. So I really do like the way that they play off each other when it's a more intense moment.
Yeah. I really think that if they had ended on episode 10, I would have liked it a lot less. I think the last few episodes added a lot more zest in it for me. Like that fight really saved the show from me giving it a much lower score, and just being not completely bored, because it's the only part that I was like, oh, this is interesting. Like, okay, this is a good fight. Like, I see both their arguments and I'm not quite sure whose side I'm on right now. Like, this is interesting. Like, they both have good points here. So how are we going to resolve it? Like, I was into it.
Oh yeah. And I mean, if it's already been announced there's a season 2. If season 2 has anything to do with Kai and Gav and their relationship, I do think watching them work out the kinks and the struggles of a long distance relationship would be very interesting, because that's the part that doesn't really play into a lot of boys love, is what happens after the happily ever after.
Right.
Because things do happen, and it's not these dramatic things. Sometimes it's petty misunderstandings, petty jealousies. Sometimes it's just missing somebody and not able to express your emotions properly to let them know how much you miss them, or not being able to deal with the fact that you miss them. So yeah, I really like that. It definitely kind of dirtied up both of their characters and made them feel a lot more like real people in a relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So now let's go to Terrence, who was Gav's first love. I am so glad that we're re-recording this, because we found out a lot more information about Terrence and Gav's relationship in episode 13.5. And I don't know, man. I kind of feel a way about Terrence now that I didn't feel before.
Me too. I mean, I messaged you. I was like, 13.5 was the best episode for me. And it's because you asked me this yesterday. You're like, what do you feel about Terrence? And I was like, I feel nothing. It was like, nothing, whatever. He exists. He was there. But now I'm like, wait, hold up. He's interesting. Let me watch this show. What's this show about? Yeah. Honestly, I'd watch that show. I'm very interested in what 13.5 had to give me. I'm like, please, let's see more. Because
Absolutely.
he's really complex. Like, he's got some internalized homophobia going on. He clearly isn't out to his parents. He's not sure what to do about that. He dumped Gav to basically date this woman because he was afraid his parents would find out. And he just seems low-key depressed, and like he really needs someone. And I think that's relatable. And like I kind of felt bad for him. Like, what he did with Gav and Kai was dumb, but it's like, oh, he's young. Like, he did a dumb thing. It's fine. He like learned from it and moved on. And he seemed genuinely sorry by the end of the show. You know, it just seemed like, wow, I really did fuck up, and I'm sorry about that. So,
yeah. And also, let's not give Kai a pass. Kai takes a lot of the blame for how Terrence was able to interfere with his relationship with Gav, because he chose to believe what Terrence was saying.
Yeah.
Kai took Terrence's word about Gav and his grandmother and didn't even think, okay, the guy that I know doesn't seem like this. Maybe I should ask him about that, instead of bringing it up in an argument and making it seem like that was fact.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you know, Terrence, he did a bad thing, but Kai was completely a part of that misunderstanding by not even doing the decent thing by saying, hey, Gav, this guy named Terrence has reached out to me. Do you know him? Tell me about your relationship with him, because he's telling me a lot of things that I have questions about. But yeah, Terrence, I was surprised to hear about the fact that, you know, in Gameboys, they have these little, I guess, Instagram story type things that happen. They're little flashes of like people's Instagram stories. And there was one question that Terrence was asked in one of them, said, have you ever cheated? And he said, never. And I was thinking, well, that's weird, because Gab and Pearl are saying that he cheated. So why is he answering never? And now, based on 13.5, there is a good chance that he never cheated, but that he didn't know how to tell Gab, I'm leaving you for this girl, and explain it's because I'm afraid of being out with you. Like, he would rather leave the impression that he cheated rather than be like, I'm a coward.
I do think one thing I really hope they answer in the next season is, like, Kai, or Terrence is, like, very public about his relationship with Gav online. So I wonder how they would address that. I do have friends that are very out online, but, like, have, like, their parents blocked and stuff. I just wish that I really hope that they give just a small, even, like, a small one-liner, like, oh, I have all my friends and family blocked. Just because it is a little weird to, you know, post about your boyfriend on all your social media and repost a lot of these, like, sad boy posts and then not be out to your parents, you know? Especially if your account's public.
Yeah, I wonder if it's one of those things where it's almost like a don't ask, don't tell type of situation in his house.
Maybe.
Because the fact that he did end up finding this girl, Michelle, because of his parents, it makes me feel like at some point his parents were like, you spend too much time with that Gav kid. Like,
Maybe.
like something happened that prompted that it wouldn't have just happened out of thin air. There had to have
Yeah.
been an inciting incident. And I'd like to know what that inciting incident is. Are his parents kind of onto him and he was doing this to kind of get them off his back? Did they maybe find his Instagram, like, hey, who's this guy? I
Mhm.
don't know. I definitely need to know more about that, because I don't see somebody getting a fake girlfriend if their parents don't suspect that they have a boyfriend.
Right. And that's why Terrence to me is the most interesting character.
Yeah.
Like, Kai and Gav are fine, and like I'd watch a second season if they were in it too. But I don't have as much. I don't personally have as much as of emotional connection to them. I do think it would be interesting to see Kai and how he deals with grief and how they address grief in the show. I think that would be interesting because Kai really blames himself for his father's death. Spoiler, yeah, his dad dies. Did we say that? Whatever.
Yes, we already
Okay.
did.
And I think people deal with grief in different ways. Like, and, you know, losing a parent, especially one that we were told that he was very close to his dad, you know. I mean, the show ends on like a positive note, but at the end of the day, the dad recently died. So I wish we got a little bit more of the grief process from Kai being shown. I don't think we really got a lot of it. We got him crying and he had a talk with his mom, but I feel like that can't be it, you know? Like,
Yeah.
is there some anger there? Does he have like some anger that he wants to that he like misdirects at Gav? That's a thing. I wonder if
I
that.
think that that's going to be season 2 for sure. I was just going to say, like, outside of his coming out discussion that he had with his mom and the way he cried about his guilt in front of his brother, we never got to hear anything else about Kai's grieving process. And
Mhm.
what I really see is going to be a trigger, or is going to be a thing that could definitely be a conflict in season 2, is I'm imagining they're going to go ahead and stick with the original story. Like, he's going to go to Bukidnon with his mom. I feel like he's going to do that. But I also feel like it's going to be a thing where when Kai is upset about stuff, if Gav doesn't give him the right answer, or if Gav doesn't say the thing he wants to hear, he's going to be like, I'm risking it all for you, and you're not reciprocating, and I don't understand why you're not like this. I need you to be there for me. And then
Yeah.
just, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I could see that happening. Also, like, I could see some unspoken things between Gav and his brothers, because they brought the one brother, London. We never did get to see the other brother, Paris. But actually, the guy who plays Kai's father in the show is his real life father. And
Yeah.
the guy that plays London is his real life brother. They also have a younger brother who I saw his YouTube page, and he's younger than the two of them. So they actually have everything they need to have London, Paris, and Cairo.
Mm-hmm.
I'd like to see kind of maybe his brother Paris blames him. Like, maybe London's like, I'm over it, I just needed to vent. But Paris is like, I'm so young and you took my dad away from me. And maybe Gav kind of helping Kai work through the fact that him and his younger brother aren't able to reconcile.
Mm-hmm.
So,
I think Kai needs a therapist badly.
oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Like, this poor boy, please get him a therapist. He needs someone to talk to that's a professional, you know. And that could be a route too, like Kai being you know, Gav becomes a dumping ground for Kai, and he's like, I can't do this, you know. You can't just dump on me, you know.
And I mean, Gav needs a therapist too. He lost all of his family. Like, we don't hear about.
He's an orphan.
Yeah. We don't hear about any siblings. We don't hear about any grandfathers. Like, he's alone. And I could really see him being like, this is too much for me.
Yeah. And what is his job? What does he do? Because he bought a lot of stuff for Kai, and I would like to know where he got the money from. I mean, maybe it's because his grandma died and it's inheritance money. But maybe he also has a job.
Yeah. I feel like he inherited the house.
I just want to know more about him.
I do too. All right, Wesley. Wesley is the character we know the least about. The only thing we know is that he lives in Bukidnon. He was a childhood friend of Kai, and I guess at one point maybe Kai's family lived in Bukidnon before they moved to Manila, and so that is how he knows Kai. And we also find out that he had like a baby crush on Kai at some point and was really looking forward to him coming to Bukidnon to maybe act on that crush, but it doesn't really happen. But this is gonna sound super shallow, guys. I'm so sorry. I kind of hated Wes because he's a Harry Potter fan. I'm so sorry.
I don't know how to take that as a Harry Potter fan. I mean, let's love J.K. Rowling hours all day. She will never see another dime from me, but...
Oh, yeah. Never, never, never. I'm not watching another movie. I'm not buying another book. I'm not buying another reissue. Fuck that bitch. But, yeah, I guess because of my recent hard feelings towards J.K. Rowling, when they had the whole thing where he was answering all the Harry Potter trivia, and then he's got a poster in his room that says "The Boy Who Lived," I'm just like, fuck that guy.
Those were some weak trivia questions too. Come on.
They were. Like, if you watch the movie, you know the answers. Like, they should have given him something like really deep off in the books.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, Wesley, I don't know. I get where Gab was coming from in terms of, like, I think this kid's trying to fuck. I definitely got that feeling even before Gab said it, because he just seemed a little too hyper to be back with his friend. But also, like, I felt it was really mature the way he said, like, yeah, I have a crush on you, but I respect your relationship. I wasn't going to break it up. And I'm like, okay, you know?
Mm-hmm.
Because, I mean, I think a lot of us have that. I mean, I have crushes on people all the time that I have no intention of ever being with, mostly because they're K-pop idols that I will never meet in life.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know, like, even if I was close with somebody that I could feel myself having a crush on, I mean, we all have those kind of moral gates that we don't cross. And that's the thing. Like, if I had a crush on somebody who had a wife, if I had a crush on somebody who was in a long-term relationship with a partner, if I had a crush on somebody who there is a possibility we could do this thing, but I also know that we would kill each other. Maybe like, I'd rather have you as a friend because if things went bad between us, it would be horrible. You know, so I thought that was really cool that he's like, you know, you can still have a crush on somebody and like keep it platonic. Right. Because you don't see that a lot. Honestly, what Boys Love does, which pisses me off because it's not just Boys Love, it's in het fiction as well, especially K-dramas. Second lead syndrome, where you have the second lead who is in love with one of the main characters, and they're always kind of like on the sidelines, like, if he ever leaves you alone, I'm here to catch you in my arms. But in the meantime, I'll do anything you ask me to because I'm totally in love with you. And you never have them have the conversation of, yeah, I have a crush on you, but also I realize you're never going to leave that other person, so I'm cool with just being friends with you. That conversation almost never happens. Instead, they never reveal their secret crush and they just fade into the background. And yeah, I think that's refreshing that Wesley was upfront like that.
Yeah.
I have questions about him being 7-incher on Chatter.
Yeah. It's like, I will need to see the proof.
Oh, I kept thinking about that. I'm like, okay, he likes Harry Potter. Why would 7-incher be important? Maybe that's the length of his wand. Like, why would you name yourself 7-incher? Also, I want to mention this for any of y'all who are nasty. The reason why Terrence kept getting those weird sexual responses on Chatter is because if you get on Twitter and you do hashtag AlterPH, that is the hashtag for guys seeking guys. Mm-hmm. But it's like mostly used for people to like broadcast dick pics on Twitter and try to find hookups for the night.
And he posted a torso pic.
Yeah.
That's fine, send me your dick type profile. Like,
pretty much. I'm like, what did you expect? You put the hashtag for hookups.
Yeah. He's like, I just want someone to talk to. It's like, well then, you know, put a funny cat pic like Wes so people get the hint, you know.
Yeah, like you're looking for somebody to talk to, but you're also looking for a specific type of somebody to talk to, if you get what I'm saying.
Mm-hmm. Well, because
Yeah.
he was definitely looking for a rebound of sorts.
Oh, yeah.
Which is interesting, and I really hope he doesn't hurt poor baby Achilles.
Let us talk about Achilles right now, this instant.
I love him. I love him.
He hurt my heart. Watching him interact with Terrence hurt my heart because he kept saying joke after everything he said that was absolutely true. And I'm like, this is somebody who is so used to having their heart broken that every time they tell a truth, they follow it up with a joke because they're so afraid that they're going to get a reaction that's going to break their heart even further.
I mean, he even said, he's like, yeah, I'm used to people not liking me because I'm like too femme for them. And then I wear makeup and things like that. And I was like, you poor baby.
Yeah.
Love yourself. You're cute.
And he's fixing to get hurt again. They've totally set him up to get heartbroken again. So in episode 13.5, Terrence is talking to 7-incher, which is Wesley. We don't find that out until the very end. And at the same time, he had a long kind of apologetic conversation with Achilles. And he was trying to call Achilles earlier that day. So while he's having the conversation with 7-incher, and 7-incher said, hey, you need to call me, Achilles like, hey, I'm no longer busy. You wanted to call me? Let's talk. And he tells Achilles, yeah, I'm gonna make this. I'm about to see. Sorry, no Ronas. I'm about to make this call to this guy, but I'll call you right back. And the last scene we get of Achilles, he is in front of his iPad waiting for a phone call.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know how much further they're going to go in this storyline. I'm assuming they're going to go way further since they hired an actor.
Right.
But I'm so afraid that it's going to be kind of a love triangle between Terrence and Wesley and Achilles, and that Achilles is going to get the short stick because of him being effeminate. And I really hope that the story writers do not do that to us. I hope that they end up with like Terrence and Achilles as the end goal, or I'm here for a throuple.
I'm here for a throuple too. I do think Terrence and Achilles would be the best option besides a throuple. Actually, I think a throuple would be a really fun thing to see, like a polyamorous relationship on A Boy's Love, because who cares? And I think what's gonna happen though is they're gonna do like a tiresome thing where, Terrence is high-key flirting with Achilles and they're kind of together, but then halfway through the season, he's like, no, I don't actually like you. I really like this other person, I'm sorry. And then Achilles is like, he's like hurt, but he's like, it's okay. Go get your man. And then he ends up with Wes. But I think that's what's gonna happen. Gameboys creators, if you're watching this, I think y'all are filming now. I think you're working on it. It's not too late to change. Listen to us, please.
Yes, please. Because, quiet as it's kept, there are a lot of effeminate boys who partake in Boys Love, and they never win. They never win. Even when you have an actor like Fluke in Until We Meet Again, which is what we're viewing next week, that is so flippin' rare that an effeminate guy gets to be the main and get to keep the love interest in the end. Mm-hmm. And even his story has to have fucking tragedy after tragedy involved in it. Mm-hmm. It would be lovely if you just let an effeminate character get his guy and have a great romance and have a happily ever after, because it never fucking happens. They're always either comic relief, or it's always fucking tragedy, or they have to be super selfless and let their interests be put in the background in order to support the main character. Mm-hmm. If you're gonna buck all of the tropes in Boys Love, this is the one that needs to be bucked.
Right, I agree.
Okay, so the last couple of characters we're going to talk about are the girls. First, let's talk about Risa.
I always forget who she is because she only has one scene. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, oh, that bitch.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't like her because here's what happened if you haven't watched the show. So it's the virus time. I don't want to say the virus because I think like YouTube actually like won't put out your video kind of a thing. Like they'll like try and snuff it from people's like recommendings and stuff. And I hope people watch this. I'm not afraid to admit I would like the views. And so basically Kai was best friends with Risa, and she was like, I like you. And he was like, wow. And she's like, how can you not like me? I'm a pretty girl. We're friends. Like, what's the deal? And so he's like, yeah, I don't like the women. And then she gets mad. She outs him, and he is so afraid of what his family will think. He runs away from home. His dad goes to find him, and while his dad is finding him, that's how the dad got coronavirus and dies. So then she hears that the dad's dead, and she calls him like, I'm so sorry. And he's like, it's not the time.
Yeah. I mean, he was very tactful in approaching her and being like, thank you for the apology. I cannot forgive you at this moment, but I appreciate the effort. Yeah. But yeah, like, a lot of boys love having an evil female character. And we've seen it before. And they're like the focus of hate, and they're the ones that the fans don't like. I don't think I've ever seen a female character that's responsible for the death of the main character's family member.
Sure is a new one.
It's a new one. This is a really new level in the evil female character. And I hate that we had to have that in this show. But I mean, it is the catalyst to everything that happens moving forward. And also, I like that Kai didn't force himself to forgive her because that's what she needed to hear. Yeah. Because too many times we do that as people. We're like, oh, well, you're upset, so I'm going to not make you be upset by, telling you it's okay. Prime example of that, the worst example, at the end of Love by Chance, when Kinkla and No are in the bed and No is woken up.
Trigger warning. Sorry.
Trigger warning for sexual assault. Kinkla and No are in the bed. No wakes up and realizes that something is wrong, and he realizes he's had sex with Kinkla, but it was non-consensual. Like, straight up, it was non-consensual. And Kinkla is like, that was my first time. I can't go back to girls now. Will you take responsibility? Even though No knows he's been violated, supremely violated, he's like, it's okay. It's all right. And we really need to normalize not letting people get away with hurting us just because they're sad or just because they're upset that they hurt us. Yeah, you deserve to be upset that you hurt me. You need to stew in that emotion for a minute because you really did me wrong. And I really appreciate that he was like, yeah, I thank you for the apology, but I don't have an obligation to accept it because you gave it to me. I can let that sit right there and marinate for a while.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So that was good. And then our other girl, we have two other girls, but I feel like I don't really want to say too much about Kai's mom other than she's a good mom. She's a good mom. Mm-hmm. My favorite scene is when he's in the vehicle drunk and his mom's like, come upstairs and drink with me. I'm like, that's a pro.
Yeah.
But Pearl. Now, I want to say this. I want to give a little bit of forgiveness to Pearl. Not because of like the kind of when she called babe, whatever. I feel like the actress who plays Pearl studies at the Filipino School of Acting because her acting is very exaggerated, but I feel like that's the style of acting that is popular in the Philippines.
It must be. I don't know. I just hate it. I really did not like her performance. I found her incredibly irritating.
Yeah, she's very,
very pretty. I'm excited to see the lesbianism. Not gonna lie, we're gonna have a good time with Pearl's Next Door, Pearl's Room, whatever it's called. What's it called?
Pearl Next Door.
Pearl Next Door. That's cute. But I found her very annoying. I appreciate that she tried to help both of them, both of them in different times, and I like that she became Kai's friend just as much as Gab's friend. I thought that was really sweet. Like, I really liked it when she went and picked him up in episode 10, and he was like, I finally got to meet Pearl. I just thought that was sweet. But the one thing she did that I didn't like, and we talked about this yesterday, but I think I'm going to try to explain it better today. Do you get what I'm saying? She kind of dips for a little bit because she gets busy with other stuff, which is fine. But when she comes back, she's like, wow, we haven't done this in a while. Miss you guys. And in my mind, I was a little bit like, well, they had tried to contact you. You just didn't respond because you chose not to in some ways. So I don't know, Pearl. Isn't a little bit, if you really wanted this, isn't a little bit of this on you for not, you know, contacting them back sooner? So I thought that was a little, I don't know about that one, Pearl, but that's like a very minor complaint.
I think that Pearl's character, if she had been a little bit more toned down in between, like, super hyper levels of excitement, she would have been a lot more enjoyable for more people. Like, I get that Pearl, I hope this doesn't sound wrong. Pearl is very much modeled after kind of a diva-esque archetype. Like, you know, in gay culture, there's certain women that occupy these spaces of adoration, like Madonna, Lady Gaga, Beyonce, Judy Garland, that kind of thing. And the reason why people admire them so much usually is because they're just so outgoing and they're so fabulous and just like, you know, rain couldn't touch them if it fell to the ground because their aura would protect them. And so these tend to be women with larger than life personas. And I think that they tried to give Pearl this larger than life persona, but the problem is these are really small spaces we're dealing with. Like, we're talking Zoom calls, bedrooms, inside the car. These are small spaces, and having that much personality in such a small space or an intimate setting is a lot.
Yeah, it was too much energy. And I think that what they could have done to make me like her a little bit more is I wish that she had a scene with Kai after his father passed away.
I do too. Like, I would have liked it if maybe Gav wasn't able to be in contact with Kai after Kai's father passed away, but Pearl was, and she was kind of running interference for Kai and Gav. And maybe it's because Kai's like, you know, I feel like my sexuality is what led my dad to die, and so I feel a little bit guilty trying to pursue a romantic relationship when that's kind of what started all of this. And so I'm only talking to Pearl right now because it doesn't feel as much of a betrayal to be talking to her. Because I could definitely see that. Like, I don't want to think about sex, sexuality, love relationships, because that's what got me into this situation. I just want to focus on, like, being around friends and focusing on my family. So that would have been something different. But I do like the three of them together when they're being silly. Like, when she came to Gav's house at the end of episode 13 and they had the little, like, I thought that was really cute. And, like, the way that Kai's face lit up to, like, be around Pearl, I really feel like those two could have a lot of scenes together if they bring down her energy level that could be, like, really good friends. Yeah, so that's the thing I'd like to see. Now I want to talk about some things that are in this show that I think other boys' loves could really learn a lot from, because there is a problem in Thai boys' love that we absolutely have to discuss. One of the things I really like about this boys' love is that it wasn't set in a university, it wasn't set in a high school, it was set just in life. And I think it's really easy to fall back on the university and high school tropes because a lot of these boys' loves are targeted to young women, absolutely. But I think this story, what I really enjoyed about it is that you kind of had to assume the ages of the characters. With them drinking, I'm going to assume they're in university maybe, but that wasn't the main thing. That wasn't the thing that brought them together. What brought them together was social media. And I think boys' loves really do need to start putting their shows in different places. Like, don't always lean to the university, always lean towards the high school. Let's go somewhere else with this. be cops. Let's be mafia guys. Let's be bakers. Let's own a restaurant. Let's own a convenience store. Let's be unemployed. Not that that's great, but I'm just saying, let's just have other things going on, because there are a lot of other personal situations with people going on. So let's do that. Another thing that I think is really good, like I mentioned before, showing what happens after the happily ever after. But also, and I mentioned this when me and Mason talked about it yesterday, waiting for that one big kiss is only effective if you build up enough tension before the big kiss. And if you don't build up enough tension, the big kiss is never as impactful. So I really hope that, like, GMM TV, who's kind of intimacy shy, that when you're doing the big kiss, instead of making it a convoluted situation like the shipper, like, I can't get into my body unless you kiss me, instead of doing it like that, make it to where the tension is they've been waiting for this moment. And maybe the emotions are really high for this moment. Instead of making it the obligatory, well, we've had 10 episodes, it's about time that they kissed. Because then it doesn't do anything for the audience.
Right.
Yeah.
I agree.
And then the use of social media. I think this show uses social media better than any of the other boys' loves we've watched so far. Like, End of Love uses social media a little bit, but I think that they used it very poorly. And I think this show used social media in a much better way. Yeah, so those are big takeaways for me. So I guess let's get down to our ratings. I give this show a solid 8.5. It is my favorite boys' love of 2020, and low-key might be one of my favorite boys' loves ever, depending on how successive projects land, because what happens in the sequels can really affect how you feel about the original. But I'm really excited to see where this is going, and I really enjoyed the journey, especially because in a lot of ways it reflected what we're currently living in, and it was nice to, like, see that approach in what is my escapism vehicle, but also still giving me that escapism regardless.
I can give it an 8.5. It's not my favorite. I would say I enjoy it about a 7, but I think 7 would be very harsh. So I can go with an 8.5. It's a solid show.
Yay, thank you. Now I want to have a chat with Mason about, well, this will be Samantha's rant, but I definitely feel like Mason should be in this conversation as well, because we talked about it last time and it deserves to be talked about here. Thai boys love, you are caught slipping. You are really slipping. We are both watching A Chance of Love. Is it A Chance of Love?
I think it's A Chance to Love.
A Chance to Love. I always forget what it is. I keep calling it A Chance at Love, A Chance of Love, A Chance to Love. We're both watching A Chance to Love. We're on episode 4 now. Episode 5 comes out in, I think, a couple of days. And this show is so fucking cheap, but it's got so much money behind it. And I just have to ask, what are you spending the fucking money on?
I don't know. It's terrible. Like, every episode gets worse, honestly. It keeps getting worse. The acting isn't as good as the first season. You know, like, the best actor the first season was A, and his character has been done to shit, and the acting isn't very good. It doesn't seem like he wants to be there. I guess Mean is doing an okay job, but the guy that plays Can should have never been hired ever, anywhere. Fire him. Don't like him. Hate the rape storyline. I hate that No secretly really liked the rape. Oh, didn't like that. Throw it away. It just looks like shit. Like, they have more characters, so I guess the money went to that. But, like, and maybe getting Mean's fancy house to look nice is what they spent money on, but it just, like, just doesn't look good. It's crap. I'm tired and bored. The only time I feel joy is when, I forgot the character's name. Claude? Nope. Captain.
Pond.
Is that his name? Pond. When he's on screen or when Sammy's on screen. Because the comedy king and queen always deliver. But anything else, I hate. I hate it. so bad.
Yes. I mean, the way that they've tried to repurpose or reframe the Kink-Lano relationship to make it's not about that I'm still upset that you raped me. It's upset because I've never had a boyfriend before.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, if you do not get the whole fuck out of here. The fact that Mame said, I'm going to rewrite Tin and Can from scratch, but I'm not going to rewrite this shit show, fuck that bitch all day long. But what's even worse is that obviously everyone who's doing this project is doing it for the money. I get it, because Love by Chance was a cash cow and people have been waiting for it. But as much as you're getting paid, can you act like you give even a sliver of a fuck? Can consistently looks like he does not want to be there. As much as Mean, his acting feels like it's kind of diminished in quality, at least he still looks like he's doing his job. Can looks visibly uncomfortable in every fucking scene he's doing. His acting is worse than it's ever been. And the kiss scenes, if you type in a chance to love, the hashtag on Twitter, and you see the clips of the kiss scene, it is literally, I'm Can and this is Mean's mouth. It's awful. It is the most uncomfortable, grossest, disgusting, unrealistic, unconvincing looking kisses ever. Mm-hmm. And I just don't get it. If you hate this shit, why do you do this shit? Mm-hmm. And it brings home the fact that even when you have an industry where the directors are gay and the costumers and the hairstylists and the makeup artists are gay, and even the people who are writing the stories sometimes are gay, there is still so much fucking homophobia in the casting process that you get people who are disgusted by the idea of playing a gay character getting hired for these roles because they're cute and the girls will like them. Instead of at least finding somebody that, even if they're not gay, that they're not going to look visibly disgusted to take a kiss from somebody that they're paid to take. Mm-hmm. Like, it's just, this show is shit. I'm going to watch it to the end because we've already said that we're going to review it. But if I wasn't doing this vlog with Mason, there is a good chance that I would quit even trying to watch this show. Because it's no fun. It is a slog. It is a slog and it is a fucking job to watch this show.
Yeah, I would just go on Twitter and like read what people put on as a synopsis. But
yeah.
You said
and also quiet.
So
go ahead.
I guess we'll have to do another drunk review where we hang out, get some snacks, and we talk about A Chance to Love, because oh boy, it'll be a long one.
It's terrible. Also, Thai Boys Love, you guys are getting boring and you need to fix it. So I have watched 2 episodes of Oxygen, and I've watched 2 episodes of My Gear and Your Gown. Now, My Gear and Your Gown is playing on GMMTV's YouTube channel, but it plays a week behind. So, like, if you have the WeTV app, you're on episode 3. If you're watching it on the YouTube channel, it's on episode 2 now. And it is being directed by New, who is the director of Love by Chance and is the current director of A Chance to Love. And listen, I don't know if Homegirl is tired and is just not feeling the boys' love nowadays, but A Chance to Love is an awful show. My Gear, Your Gown has a halfway decent plot, but it has no life. It is dead on arrival. It has no energy. Like, the 2 main leads, one of them has no expressions, and I'm not even saying that to be facetious. I mean, he literally has no expressions. He constantly has a blank face. Even when he smiles, this is the smile.
Ew.
Yeah. it's bad. And then the other character, who is like the other main character, love interest, whatever, in his face, he's either blank or he's angry. It's just like, I'm sick of this. We're now 2 episodes in, and I don't care about either one of you, and you are the main couple, and I could give a shit about what happens to you. Mm-hmm. I mean, I do appreciate that one of the main leads is anti-clubs, anti-extracurricular, because that's totally my jam. I feel you on a spiritual level, but you're giving me nothing. You literally are giving me nothing. And what's even more frustrating is that JJ, who was in Together, he's one of the twins, he's in this show, and there's an actor named Fiat. who plays the best friend of one main character while JJ plays the best friend of the other. And they're in rival clubs and they're fighting over this club room. And there is so much fucking sexual tension between those two, and they are not one of the couples of the show. How are you gonna let your side platonics have more sexual tension than our main characters? Someone's not doing their fucking job. I don't know if it's casting. I don't know if it's the director. Y'all got to fix this shit.
Why won't they let JJ win?
I don't know. JJ is so fucking hot. Like, okay. I realize that he's 19 years old, so it feels very inappropriate for me to say this. But, like, I didn't hate Non in Dark Blue Kiss, and I thought he was a good-looking kid. But his brother is somehow hotter, even though they are identical twins. Don't know how this is possible, but his brother is hotter, and his brother is hot.
He has a better aura, which sounds stupid, but like he just—
It's true!
He passes the vibe check, but the other one doesn't. You know? Like
it's really bizarre. Like, I can tell them apart in pictures. Mm-hmm. Why? They're identical twins, but I can actually tell them apart. And JJ's the hot one.
The other one's got a dingy aura.
Yeah. But anyway, Thailand, you've got to step your pussy game up. Philippines is doing 1,000 boys loves, and a lot of them are fucking horrible. But at the same time, they're learning every day, and they're getting better all the time. And once the genre gets popular enough in the Philippines, some real money is going to come behind these productions, and they're going to get better. Because that's the main thing, that there's no money. A lot of these people are doing this stuff on half of a shoestring budget. But once they start getting some money and some sponsorships and they can actually do some real stuff, they're coming for that ass. So, Ty, you need to get your shit together. You really, really do.
Well, November will bring us Untitled Season 2 and Manner of Death, so hopefully things will change soon. And boy, oh boy, can I wait till November. And I mean that. I mean, someone knock me out and wake me up November 5th, and hopefully things will be a little bit better. And if
Isn't that a Green Day song?
Huh? Wait,
isn't that a Green Day song?
Tambourines. November. Yeah, call me in November. Yes. Ooh.
Yeah. All right, so Instagrams of the day. I kind of want to give you something different. So I had Instagrams of the day ready for when we did our last recording, but I decided to give you guys different Instagrams. So there's another Filipino boys love series that I was watching around the same time as Gameboys. It started after Gameboys, but ended before Gameboys was over because it only had 8 episodes. It's a show called Hello Stranger, and the show is very platonic. Like, there's not even a kiss shared in this show because it's like 2 straights. It's a hug. That's what you get. But the lead main characters are hot as shit, like extremely fuckable. And so I wanted to share their Instagrams because they're cutie patooties. So the first one we have is Tony Labrusca. And Tony Labrusca is spelled Tony Labrusca. He is fucking hot. He's built, he's muscular. He has one of those smirky fuckboy-esque smiles, and just he's got good eyebrows. His daddy's hot too. I'd fuck his daddy. Like, it's just oh man. He has a picture on his Instagram of him and his daddy. They look like fucking brothers, and that means that I would be a part of your incestuous sandwich. But I digress. So he's one I recommend you following. The other one is JC Alcantara. I hope I'm saying Alcantara. And his Instagram is I'm JC Alcantara. So it's I am JC ALCANTARA. And he has got an adorable face. His face is just the cutest. I wasn't a big fan of his acting, but he's got like these really deep set dimples. So if you like boys with dimples, he might be your type. But he's got a sweet face. I wouldn't call him hot. I would definitely call him sweet-faced. And so I recommend if you like a sweet-faced guy, because both of them give you a lot of selfies. And Tony gives you a lot of selfies with no shirt on. A few shower selfies, too. I recommend. So those are my Instagrams of the week. Mason, manga of the week.
My answer hasn't changed from yesterday. I don't have one. I read one this week, but it was really bad. Like, really bad. Not even well drawn. So, I'm out. I'm so sorry.
Well, then I will talk about the same thing I talked about when we filmed yesterday, but I will make an abridged version. Hanayodango is a Japanese manga from the 90s that is better known because it became the franchise that is Meteor Garden, Meteor Shower, Boys Over Flowers. It's been redone several times over the last 30 years and with varying levels of success, but mostly astronomical success. It launched the career of Lee Min-ho in Korea, and it's just, it is a thing. It is a thing. Unfortunately, it is a super problematic thing. The original source material has episodes of, trigger warning, attempted rape, domestic violence, hardcore bullying, a lot of abuse of power dynamics, that kind of thing. And it's amazing that something with so many problematic issues has been remade over and over and over again. But I feel like each successive remake has tried to tone down some of the violence, some of the bad acts. But even the version that I tried to watch, which was Boys Over Flowers, that had an attempted rape scene. It had an attempted suicide at the very beginning of the first episode. So the reason why we're talking about it here is because Thailand has announced that they are doing a remake of Boys Over Flowers, and Bright and Win from Together are going to be in it, and Bright will play the character that Lee Min-ho plays in Boys Over Flowers. So he's the main romantic lead. It is going to be a straight ship, and the Twitter sphere is high-key upset because people are Bright Win fans, and they only want to see him kissing on Win. And also, they are upset because Win might be in another BL pairing with a different actor on the show. And to that I say, you're paying attention to the wrong thing. Like, there's a lot of things we could be focusing on here. Focusing on the fact that their pairing is split up, you are absolutely focusing on the wrong thing. Because this is a really, really upsetting piece of literature. Don't get me wrong, the anime art is actually not that bad. For it being made, and I think it was made in 1992, the art still holds up in a lot of ways, and it is slightly entertaining, kind of the in-between moments, but the level of bullying and harassment that goes on in this series of mangas is unreal. I only made it to volume 3, and by the time I got to volume 3, 2 women had been slapped, 1 boy had almost been killed, and a girl had almost been raped. And there's 37 volumes of this, and from what I understand, it's just back and forth with I like you, I don't like you, I like you, I don't like you, I bully you, I don't bully you, throughout 37 frickin' volumes. So I wish the best of luck to Bright, because I find Bright to be a very attractive young man, and I think given better material, he's probably a really good actor. I don't think they asked a lot of him in Together, so we really didn't get to see a lot of his range. I look forward to seeing Win in more stuff because I actually really liked Win's acting in Together. I think he's a really decent actor in the scenes where he's not being asked to be romantic with Bright. But yeah, we'll see how this shit turns out because this could go two very different ways depending on how they write this thing out. So I think that's everything. Next week, we're doing Until We Meet Again.
Finally.
I know, like, it's such a core part of what we're doing that I thought we had already reviewed it because, like, oh yeah, Until We Meet Again, everybody knows this, right? So being able to review it with you guys is absolutely a treat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then I'm not sure what we're doing after Until We Meet Again. It really depends on what's kind of going on. There are definitely more things that we're looking at that we'd like to go back and revisit. There's some stuff that I know personally I've been scared to watch because it comes across a little bit intense, but I think it's things that you guys have wanted us to watch. For instance, Three Will Be Free. Three Will Be Free feels very intense, but I've seen some discussion at least one time about reviewing it, so that probably is something that we'll visit. But we are getting, go ahead.
Diary of Tootsie.
That is true. Diary of Tootsie is another one that we mentioned. We mentioned it very early on in our vlogs, and we have never approached it. So we have a lot of stuff in the works, and then we're both currently watching a lot of things. So as stuff starts to reach their finales in December, there'll be some more stuff to be reviewed.
Yeah.
Yeah. But until that time, thank you guys.
All right. See you later.
Bye.